Hello, friends. Welcome into this game day edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast here on YouTube. I'm your host, Andy Herman. No niceties today. I got a ton I want to get to, so thank you for joining me. Let's get started right away. I want to start by talking a little bit about what happened on Saturday and in how it kind of affects the playoff scenarios moving forward. Buccaneers won. Of course, the Cardinals lost, which really opens up the Chicago Bears for an opportunity to move into the playoffs, and they hold their destiny in their own hands. So the Bears play the Jaguars today on Sunday. That's likely going to be a win for the Bears, which means that it'll definitely be a win in your in scenario for the Bears against the Packers in Week 17. And depending upon what happens this week, of course, Green Bay could clinch with a win over the Titans and a Rams win over the Seahawks. Maybe that game doesn't matter, but assuming that it does, I think we're about to learn a lot about the Green Bay Packers over the course of the next month or so, and really their next three games, going against what now looks like potentially three playoff teams: the Titans at home, the Bears on the road, and then their first playoff game, whether it be in the wild card round or the divisional round. I think we're about to learn a ton about this Packers team, maybe the most that we've learned about the Packers in the Matt LaFleur era over the course of the next few weeks, and how they respond to three potential playoff caliber opponents. And assuming they need to win the game against the Bears, we don't know that that's going to be the case as of today. Maybe the Bears lose to the Jaguars, who knows, but it's likely looking like that's going to be a huge game for the Chicago Bears. We'll see how much it means to the Packers in the coming days, but that looks now like a much tougher game because the Bears are going to be giving everything they have to get into the playoffs in all likelihood in that game. So let's go over some of those playoff scenarios. Because I am the nerd that I am, I found out, and calculated that barring any ties, there's 256 remaining playoff scenarios in the NFC. And that's not including the NFC East, because we know there's four teams that could still win the NFC East, and whoever wins it is going to get the 4 seed. And a long story short, the number 4 seed's really probably not going to affect the Packers in any way, shape, or form, unless they play them in the divisional round as the number 1 seed versus the 4 seed, which is unlikely. And if that happens, count your blessings anyway. So I'm not going to go into that too much. But outside of the NFC East, there are 8 remaining games that matter. There's Bears Jaguars, Seahawks Rams, Packers Titans, Packers Bears, Saints Falcons, Bucks Panthers, Seahawks 49ers, and Rams Cardinals. That means if you're doing 2 to the 8th power, you get 256 remaining playoff scenarios. And if you're wondering if I spent my Saturday night reviewing all 256 scenarios and putting together a spreadsheet, I think you already know the answer. You know how pathetic I am. And of course I did that. So here are the remaining options for the Green Bay Packers. They can get the bye, of course. They can get the number 2 seed and either face the Bears, Cardinals, or Rams in that number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. Again, either the Bears, Cardinals, or Rams. Or they could get the number 3 seed facing the 6 seed, either facing the Bears, Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, or Buccaneers. Those are all the different scenarios that are still available over the course of the next couple weeks. Of those 256 scenarios, 192 or 75% of them include the Packers getting the number 1 overall seed, a first round bye, and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So 75% chance that they get that number 1 overall seed in that first round bye. 40 out of 256, about a 15.6% chance that they get the number 2 seed, and a 9.4% chance, 24 scenarios out of 256, that they get the number 3 seed. Breaking that down just a little bit further, 192 again out of 256 gets you the first round bye. 28 of the 256 possibilities are going to get you a matchup with the Chicago Bears in the first round. 14 out of 256 are going to get you the Cardinals in the first round. 10 of those scenarios are going to get you the Rams in the first round. 6 out of 256 are going to get you the Seahawks, and another 6 are going to get you the Buccaneers. So it's very unlikely that you're going to see Packers Seahawks or Packers Buccaneers. Only 6 out of the 256 scenarios are going to get you either of those two teams. Even the Rams and Cardinals are pretty unlikely. And honestly, even Bears Packers is a 28 out of 256 possibility scenario. Most of these are not very good. In all likelihood, the Packers end up with that first round bye. Again, all they have to do is either beat the Bears or beat the Titans and have either the Rams, beat the Seahawks, or the Seahawks lose in week 17. So there's certainly some scenarios there, but this is shaping up to be a really great opportunity for the Packers to get that number 1 overall seed. But again, options include a first round bye, first round against the Bears, Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, or Buccaneers. And if you think that's crazy for potential scenarios, look at it from the LA Rams standpoint. They could still get the number 1 seed, the 2, the 3, the 5, the 6, the 7, or they could end up out of the playoffs entirely. So the Rams are going to be on this insane roller coaster over the course of the next couple weeks. Legitimately, they still could get the 1, or they could be out of the playoffs, which is absolutely insane to say with literally less than 2 weeks remaining, because 4 games have already been played this week. So you're looking at 28 remaining games this season, and the Rams still have that level of fluctuation in their season, which is crazy. All right, let's break down this Packers-Titans game a little bit. First of all, let's go over the moves that the Packers made prior to the game. Corey Linsley designated for return. He gets activated off of IR. A huge win for the Packers. I would expect him to start at center. No guarantee, but if they're activating him, you've got to know that he's ready to go, which is a huge win for that Packers offensive line. It will cause some ripple effect, right? Now, Lucas Patrick likely has to move back to right guard. Elton Jenkins has to move back to left guard. Billy Turner's got to move back to right tackle. So 3 players have to make adjustments. Now, they're going back to their original positions, so it should help, but still, after a couple weeks of playing different positions, now they're going to have to go back and kind of relearn those positions a little bit, get used to playing next to different players next to them. So we'll see how that goes. Brian Price and Dexter Williams activated off of the practice squad for this game. Brian Price, reinforcements for Derrick Henry, you would assume. And then Dexter Williams, you would think that basically signals that Jamal Williams, who is doubtful for this game, is not going to play. I don't know that for sure, but if I'm reading tea leaves, you got to expect that to be the case. Packers also made a couple other minor moves. Ryan Winslow, a punter, was signed to the practice squad, and Dax Raymond, a tight end, was removed from the practice squad. So a couple other notes there. Will Redmond and Jay Sternberger were listed as out on the injury report, whereas Simon Stepaniak and Jamal Williams were listed as doubtful. If I'm a betting man, I think all 4 of those players are going to be out in this game. Again, with Dexter Williams being activated, that basically writing on the wall, Jamal Williams will not play. And Simon Stepaniak, they've basically already mentioned he may be ready for playoffs if it gets to that point. But with Corey Linsley activated, that gives them their 8 offensive linemen. He should be one of the easy ones to deactivate on game day. They don't need the 9th offensive lineman anyway, and it sounds like he's not ready to go. So I would very much expect Stepaniak and Williams to be out alongside Will Redmond and Jay Sternberger. For the Titans, they basically got completely healthy. I mentioned the other day there were some big names that have been on their injury report: Adoree Jackson, Jonnu Smith, Danny Kelly, or I think it's Danny Kelly, their right tackle. They've had a variety of injuries, Jeffrey Simmons, but all of them end up being active for this game, or at least not on the injury report for this game. Derek Roberson is out, and then Chris Milton they placed on IR, but they go into this game very, very healthy. And they also activated Brooks Reed off the practice squad. So somebody keep an eye out for there. Let's go over quickly my keys to the game. And you guys know I like to, bring you a few keys each week, but you guys know the keys to this game, right? Like, this is going to be a game where the Packers have to put up a lot of points on offense and find some way to contain Derrick Henry and this Titans offense. And Derrick Henry's going to have the target on his back. AJ Brown's going to have to be contained in some capacity. And Devontae Adams, MVS, Allen Lazard, this offense is probably going to have to go off and score at minimum, you would think, 30 points in this game. You never quite know for sure, but I would think the expectations that this is going to be a high-scoring affair, the 2 top-scoring offenses in football. If I'm going to give you some 3 quick keys, number 1, what's the number for Derrick Henry? He's probably going to get over 100 yards, right? I think that's a fair statement to say at this point. And you can win this game with Derrick Henry getting 100, 120, 125 yards. If it starts creeping up to 140, 160, 180, it makes it exceedingly less likely that the Packers are going to come out of this game with a victory. So I think you really got to limit him to, 125, maybe 130 at the most. And I know that's, it sounds like a lot of yards, but I think you can get by. It's not great, but I think you can get by with allowing 125 yards to Derrick Henry. But he's going to have a target on him and making sure that everyone's rallying to the football, that this is the best Packers tackling game of the season. Tackling has not been their forte. Derrick Henry's strength just a little bit is breaking tackles. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Green Bay, but I think you got to figure out what's that number. And if he gets over 100, that's okay. How many carries did it take him to get there? Is it 16 carries for 120 yards, or is it 28 carries for 120 yards? There's a big difference there. So I'm curious to see how they try to limit him. I think you also have to be very careful, even while you're limiting him, to not make sure that those tight ends go off. Jonnu Smith, Anthony Firkser, Michael Pruitt, Jeff Swaim. Those tight ends really great off of play action, and they're good blocking tight ends along with downfield threats, especially Jonnu Smith. He has some run after the catch ability. So you got to make sure that while you're targeting Derrick Henry and trying everything you can to limit him, that you're not letting these tight ends get free reign down the field off of the play action fakes. So I think that's going to be a really huge key in this game as well. And then I think just some of the X factors for Green Bay, maybe not the bigger names. I think MVS and Allen Lazard on offense are going to have to step up, have a really big game. I can't imagine that Tennessee is going to watch tape of last week and say, you know what, let's not try some of what Carolina did in limiting Devontae Adams. I think they're going to try some of those same things, and I think Allen Lazard and MVS are going to have huge games, especially if this is the type of high shootout, high scoring shootout type of game that I'm expecting it to be. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think just those defensive linemen not named Dean Lowry, not named Kenny Clark, named Dean Lowry, Tyler Lancaster, Dean Lowry, Kingsley Keke, Anthony Rush, Brian Price, who they, again, elevated from the practice squad. I think those guys, with whatever playing time they end up getting, have to have a big game, just maintain their gaps, hold up at the point of attack, not try to do too much, let your linebackers do the heavy lifting, or get the tackles. You do the heavy lifting up front, making sure that you're taking on those blocks when necessary and freeing up the linebackers, not trying to do too much, not trying to get outside of your gaps, not trying to be Superman. Just do your 111th and let the linebackers clean things up and get to the ball carrier, including mostly Derrick Henry in this game. So I think those are some players definitely to keep an eye on in this game. Prediction, I think the Titans win. I hate saying that, but that's just my prediction in this one. I think this isn't the greatest matchup for Green Bay. I think, with Tennessee being a little bit more of a power team on offense, I think they're going to, drain some of that clock, limit the Packers' opportunities on offense. I think the Packers' offense is going to have to be near perfect in this one. I think they can be. I think Green Bay can easily win this game. I don't think this is, it's automatically the Titans. The Packers are favored for a reason. They're as good as they are for a reason. This should be a very, very entertaining Sunday night football game. Can definitely go either way, flip a coin. But if I'm betting right now, or if I'm at least making a prediction, I'm going Titans in a very close, fun, entertaining game. And if you're looking for something to watch as I close up shop here today, of course, again, you all know this already. Packers win, Rams lose on Sunday. They get that first round bye, and week 17 doesn't have any implications for the Packers. So we're cheering for a Packers win and a Rams loss on this Packers Sunday. Enjoy the game, everyone. I'll be right back here tomorrow breaking down the game, what went well, what went wrong, hopefully not much. Hopefully talking about another Victory Monday right here on the Pack-A-Day podcast. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check out Mike Wentland and Tyler Grezagoric on today's audio version. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.